Hi, this is the second part of equivalent mass concept. We could not finish in one go, so we had to do this second session on the equivalent mass rudimentary concept, equivalent mass of elements, and we ended the last lecture by singing a song on equivalent laws of equivalent. That is, all chemical reactions take place in equivalence. Mole ratio in a reaction may not be 1:1, maybe 2:3, maybe 1:8, maybe 1:5. But in equivalence, it is always 1:1:1 between reactants, between reactant product, product. So it is always 1:1. That is the beauty of equivalent concept. And equivalent mass of an element, we know, since it always enters into a redox reaction, it is equal to atomic mass by valency, or atomic mass by the number of electrons gained or lost per atom, or the change in oxidation number per atom, or in a different way, it is the mass, the gram equivalent mass is the mass in gram which is liberated at any electrode, cathode or anode, or which is involved in the loss and gain of 1 mole of electrons or 1 Faraday of charge. Now we shall let us once again revise what is law of equivalence. That can be presented in two different formats. One is all chemical reactions take place in equivalence. Do you remember the music I created? All chemical reactions take place in equivalence. So, and the second one is M1 by M2 is equal to E1 by E2. Masses are directly proportional to their equivalent masses. And we also proved that one equivalent of any reactant will react with one equivalent of the other reactant. X equivalent, X equivalent. One equivalent of a reactant will produce one equivalent of the product. X equivalent, X equivalent, right? So in this lecture, we shall discuss how experimentally we will determine, in the past, scientists determined equivalent mass of an element. Because at those times, atomic mass was determined only from equivalent mass. And using Dulong and Petit's law, as I have also told you last time, law of isomorphism and many other similar laws. Nowadays, I told you that equivalent mass of elements determination is not required, because atomic masses, in fact isotopic masses, are determined exactly, accurately by using mass spectrometers. But let's learn for the sake of examination, how these scientists were determining equivalent masses by different methods. That the different methods are hydrogen displacement, metal displacement. Have a look to the PPT, oxide formation or its decomposition method, chloride formation or its decomposition method, double displacement methods. These are some of the methods. Those were followed experimentally to determine the equivalent mass of an element. Now let's start with hydrogen displacement method. I have taken one example to demonstrate, to explain how at those times by experiment they were trying to determine the exact equivalent mass of an element. Say for example, 1.47 gram of a metal was treated with excess acid. When an active metal Obviously, this is an active metal treated with dilute acid like sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid. You get hydrogen gas. So that hydrogen was collected over water, and the amount, the volume, I'm sorry, the volume of hydrogen gas was 541 milliliters, same as Cc. Collected over water at this Celsius and 752.5 millimeter of mercury pressure. Calculate the equivalent mass of the metal. And I have already told you several times that if the collection of a gas is made over water, then definitely it will carry some water vapor, and the pressure of that gas is not the pressure of the dry gas. So we have to subtract the pressure of the water vapor, that is called the aqueous tension, to get the pressure of the dry gas. So the aqueous tension at that temperature is given, aqueous tension of water, that is water vapor pressure, 12.5 millimeter, and hydrogen gas has a density at STP equal to 0.4089 gram per ml or cc. Now I told you the first work is to convert the volume from the non-STP condition to STP condition by using the combined gas equation, P1 by T1, P2 by T2, and we had to subtract 12.5, the aqueous tension, from the pressure of the moist gas, and this is the volume, this is the temperature, 273 plus 15, these are the NTP conditions, and we got V2 is equal to 500.1 milliliters. 541.8 became 500.1 in STP, and because we know the density of hydrogen at STP is this much, so 1 milliliter, if 1 milliliter will weigh this gram, then 500.1 milliliter will weigh this into this, that is 0.0445 gram. Then it is handy to use the law of equivalence. Mass of the metal divided by mass of hydrogen is equal to equivalent mass of the metal or non-metal divided by equivalent mass of hydrogen. The equivalent mass of hydrogen is already known, 1.008 or 1, simply 1. And these are experimental. 1.47 gram of the metal, that is mass of the metal, and the mass of hydrogen just now we calculated basing on the density. And of course the experiment that the displaced hydrogen had a volume equal to this milliliter at STP, and we converted it into its mass, right? Mass never changes. Volume can change with temperature and pressure, right? So by using the law of equivalence, M1 by M2 is equal to E1 by E2, we get the equivalent mass of the metal is equal to 33.29. Maybe it is about zinc. Zinc is 65.5. It is about 32.75. So experimental error is always there. So of course we cannot say it is zinc, but we can guess, yes, it might be zinc. You can also solve this problem by equivalent volume method. Means, what is the volume of one equivalent of hydrogen, which is 1 gram? If 2 grams, you know, 2 grams, I have not written, if 2 grams, which is the molecular mass, 2 grams has a volume equal to 22.4 liters. So 1 gram, which is equal to 1 equivalent of hydrogen, will occupy 11.2 liters or 11,200 milliliters at STP. So directly, when you found the volume of hydrogen at STP, you could have directly done, if 500.1 milliliter of hydrogen is displaced by this much gram of the metal, then 11,200 ml of hydrogen is displaced by how much of the metal? That is bound to be the equivalent mass, because 1 gram is equivalent to 11,200 200 ml. 2 gram is equivalent to 22.4 liters. 1 gram is equivalent to 11.2 liters. So we can bypass this mass method, multiplying with the density to find mass and then apply law of equivalence. We can do this, but I will suggest, but the answers are a little different, because when the methods change, the answers will be slightly variable, because you don't know where you are making approximations. In density, you are taking two significant digits, and in 22,400 we have also made approximations. So we cannot expect the two answers in two different methods to match absolutely same. Now the other method, similar method of finding the equivalent mass of an element, particularly a metal, is the metal displacement method. You know, here the previous case it was hydrogen which was displaced. Now a stronger metal will be displacing a weaker metal in the electrochemical series or metal activity series. So for example, same principle. For example, I am giving you a concrete example, experimental example. It's not me who has done it. It's the scientists who have done this experiment. 0.26 gram of aluminium displaces this gram of a metal that is not known from metal sulfate. But we are sure that metal is undoubtedly a weaker metal than aluminium. Displaces 0.94 gram of a metal from the metal sulfate. If the equivalent mass of aluminium is 9, that we know, 27 by 3 is 9, calculate the equivalent mass of the unknown metal. Can you guess the metal? What is its oxidation state in the sulfate? If the atomic mass of the metal is 65.5, obviously from this we know it is zinc, right? But let us try to find from the experimental data. Now if mass of aluminium is say MAL, mass of the unknown metal that is displaced, that has been found gravimetrically by weighing, by drying the precipitate, completely drying and taking the weight, again drying till a constant mass is obtained. So this gravimetric experiment, any experiment involving weighing the amount of the substance, is called gravimetric experiment. So that needs a lot of repetitions. You have to weigh, record the mass, again dry in a drying chamber, again take the mass until you get constant mass. That means all moisture is vanished. So you know the metal displaced metal mass is 0.94 and the aluminium has a mass 0.26. So M1 by M2 is equal to E1 by E2. This is given, is known, aluminium is known, so the equivalent mass is 32.53. Obviously, if the atomic mass is given 65.5, then atomic mass by equivalent mass rounded off to the nearest whole number, because you know valency is a whole number, gives its correct valency. Okay, it's very simple. Oxide formation or its decomposition method. Whether you have a metal, you combust or you hit it with oxygen and get an oxide. If it is as a variable valence, you can get one oxide the other depending on the conditions. So then you find the mass of oxygen that has combined. Take the exact mass of the metal and then the mass of metal oxide. Subtract. You find the mass of oxygen. And in that case, by using law of equivalence, using the equivalent mass of oxygen to be 8, because this is normal oxide, as not peroxide or superoxide, usually. Unless otherwise you get a proof that it is superoxide or peroxide. 8 you have to take. In that case, it's very easy. For example, 50 milligram of a metal is heated strongly in air until constant mass was obtained, because that oxide formation, that all metal is converted. Otherwise, when the reaction is progressing, there will be continuous change in the mass. So once the mass change is stopped, then the reaction is over. All metal is now metal oxide. 83.3 milligram of its oxide. Find the equivalent mass of the metal. Can you guess the metal? So mass of oxygen is equal to this minus this. Right? This minus this is equal to 33.33 milligram. Right? That is, in gram, it will be 0.0333 gram. So mass by mass of the metal is 0.05. This is milligram. 0.05 by mass of oxygen is 0.033 is equal to equivalent mass of the metal by 8. So we got the equivalent mass of the unknown metal is 12. So most likely the metal is magnesium because its atomic mass is 24 by 2, so it is 12. So we have a strong guess that it is nothing other than magnesium, right? So you can have indirect oxide formation. You know, some metals, they do not form their oxides by direct combustion with oxygen. For such cases, we have to prepare oxide by indirect method. For example, the unknown metal is first converted to its nitrate by treating with concentrated nitric acid. Then the nitrate is strongly heated to produce the metallic oxide. I'm writing, I do not know the valency of that metal, so I have written M2OX, right? So it's an experimental method. Valency can be known, only when you apply the Dulong-Petit's law, get the approximate valency, and then round off to the nearest number. So different tech. But here we are finding equivalent mass experimentally, right? Sample of metal weighing this much gram was first dissolved in nitric acid to form nitrate. The metal nitrate is then strongly heated until constant dry mass is obtained. A reddish brown gas is evolved during ignition, of course, along with oxygen. Reddish brown gas, okay, the mass of metal oxide formed was 1 gram. The metal oxide, ultimately you get metal oxide, that is 1 gram. So we are primarily concerned with the mass of the metal and the mass of metal oxide. So by subtracting, we get the mass of oxygen, right? Then we apply the law of equivalence. 0.8 is the mass of the metal by mass of oxygen is equal to equivalent mass of the metal by 8. So we get it's 32. So the equivalent mass of the metal is 32. So at this point we cannot make a guess. It may be zinc. It may be zinc. I don't know, because there is always an experimental error. Zinc is 32.75. Copper is 31.75 to be exact. But these are experimental values. We are likely to have some percentage of error. Now, this is another way to decompose a metallic oxide, just the opposite. We have a metallic oxide which is easily decomposed into its metal, and oxygen will escape. So you measure the mass of that unstable metallic oxide like mercuric oxide, whatever. Then you decompose it. Maybe you can reduce. If it is not self-decomposed on heating, you can reduce by using a reducing agent, hydrogen, and get the metal. So mass of the metallic oxide is known. Mass of the metal is known. We don't bother how much of hydrogen is used or how much of water is formed. We know the mass of the metallic oxide and the mass of the metal. At the end of the reaction, we subtract, get the mass of, this is mass of the metal, so mass of oxygen is this much. So the same principle, law of equivalence, M1 by M2, E1 by E2. So 0.9 is the mass of the metal by mass of oxygen is equal to this. So we get 31.71, most likely to be copper. And it has gone to copper 2 because 63.5 is the atomic mass of copper, and by 2 is nearly 31 point, not nearly exactly 31.75. I think in this case the guess should be almost correct, right? You can also, if you handle oxygen gas, so instead of converting, supposing you have an experiment where oxygen, say 400 milliliters of oxygen at STP is required to completely convert a given mass of a metal to its oxide, right? So instead of converting into its mass by finding gram molar mass, 32 grams is 22.4 liters, or 22.4 liters is equal to 32 grams, and this much of volume is how much gram, then using the law of equivalence, instead of that we can use the equivalent volume. So equivalent mass of oxygen in usual circumstances is 8. So what is the volume of 8 grams of oxygen gas? If 32 grams is equal to 22.4 liters, then 8 grams is equal to 1/4 of it, that is 5.6 liters. So we can directly calculate if these many milliliters, these many liters have been used up by the metal, then 5.6 liters at STP will be consuming how much of metal, and that is bound to be its equivalent mass, because the equivalent volume of oxygen is 5.6 liters, corresponding to 8 gram of oxygen. So that you can do, but I always recommend to convert it into mass and then use the law of equivalence. You can have a chloride method. Supposing you react a metal with a chlorine and get metallic chloride. Mass of metal, mass of metallic chloride, subtract, get the mass of chlorine, and then use law of equivalence. Equivalent mass of chlorine is same as its atomic mass, 35.5, right? Or you have a metallic chloride, you take the mass and decompose to metal, take the mass of the metal. In any way, either chloride formation method or decomposition method of the metallic chloride, you get, supposing chloride of a metal contains 47.23% of metal by mass, find the equivalent mass. If out of 100 grams, this much of 47.23 gram of metal is there, so percentage of chlorine is 100 minus this many grams. So mass by mass of the metal 47.23 by mass of chlorine is equal to the equivalent mass of the metal by 35.5, that is the equivalent mass of chlorine, and we get the equivalent mass of the metal is 31.75, hinting again at copper in the +2 state, not in the +1 state. So this one is again similar problem, which we can do in FLAS 0.475 gram of metal chloride was formed by the reaction of certain mass of metal with excess chlorine. If the equivalent mass of the metal is 12, what is the mass of the metal reacted? So if mass of the metal is equal to X, then mass of chlorine is equal to 0.475 minus X, because this is the mass of the metal chloride, right? Then let us use equivalent mass is given, and we know chlorine is 35.5. So mass of the metal by mass of the metallic chloride, mass of chlorine, mass of the metal by mass of chlorine is equivalent mass of the metal by equivalent mass of chlorine. So from here you can find what is the mass of the metal. I give you this task for you to do yourself. So that is the mass of the metal that must be formed by the decomposition of 0.47 gram of metal chloride. This much of gram of the metal will produce this much of gram of metal chloride when it reacts with excess of chlorine. Right? Why excess? Because all metal has to react. All metal has to react to its corresponding chloride. Let chlorine be remaining in excess, we don't bother. But we want that metal should be exhausted so that the equivalent amount of metal chloride is formed. We remove all the impurities, the excess chlorine, everything, take the dry mass of metal chloride, and that is 0.475. And we do not know what mass of metal was taken. Let it be X. So 0.475 minus X is definitely the mass of chlorine which has combined. So we have done that. And the last one is the double displacement reaction. Here I have no intention to discuss the equivalent mass of compounds, different types of compounds used in metathesis reactions and in the other reactions, right? In that case, we have to go for, we will do it in a separate program later about the equivalent mass of compounds. But I thought of discussing a bit for only metathesis reactions and simple displacement reactions, not in a hardcore redox reactions where we have to find the N factor in a very meticulous manner. We are not going to discuss that. So equivalent mass of an ionic compound used in metathesis reaction or in a simple displacement reaction. For example, a metal reacts with acid to form its sulfate or chloride in that. So the equivalent mass of the entire compound is equal to equivalent mass of the cation plus equivalent mass of the anion, right? So equivalent mass of an ion is equal to its ionic mass by valency. For example, sulfate ion, its ionic mass is 96 by 2. 2 is its valency. Similarly, nitrate ion, 62 by 1. Barium ion, its atomic mass 137 by 2. Oxide ion, 16 by 2. Chloride ion, 35.5 by 1. So equivalent mass of an ion, maybe monoatomic ion or a polyatomic ion, is its ionic mass by valency, right? This is not the universal case. You can't say chromate ion, its ionic mass by 2 always. Yes, it is the case in metathesis reactions, but if it is used as a oxidizing agent, then you have to find the N factor, the number of electrons lost or gained by using your knowledge of the balancing in ion electron method. How many electrons are gained? Gained, while chromium goes from +6 state to say +3 state per molecule or per ion. We will be discussing those things later, not now. These are only to determine the equivalent mass of single elements, particularly the metals in this case, by using double displacement method, right? For example, barium sulfate, equivalent mass of barium sulfate, it's a compound. We are not supposed to discuss about it. But since we are finding the equivalent mass of metal, let us discuss that equivalent mass of barium ion plus equivalent mass of sulfate ion. Sulfate ion is known 48. Supposing you do not know the equivalent mass of barium, so let it be X by 2 and then use the law of equivalence to find X. Let's take an example. So this is the law of equivalence. Supposing you are comparing between the masses of metal sulfate and metal chloride. Supposing you have carried out a double displacement reaction where metal chloride is converted to metal sulfate. This is the dry mass of metal chloride. This is the dry mass of metal sulfate. So metal sulfate is equal to equivalent mass of metal sulfate, and we split it into two parts. Sum of equivalent mass of the metal ion, we do not know, supposing the valency, doesn't matter. Experimentally we can find out. Plus equivalent mass of sulfate ion, which is known, 96 by 2, 48. And in metal chloride, it is the equivalent of the equivalent mass of the same metal, because this is metathesis reaction. The valency is same. Say, see, this is X, and plus equivalent mass of chloride, that is 35.5. Or what I was saying, in simple displacement reaction, you can also compare the mass of a metal and mass of metal sulfate is equal to equivalent mass of the metal, equivalent mass of the metal sulfate, because though it is going for a redox reaction, metal from 0 to plus X state, but the principle, as we shall know, we have already known for metal, it is a redox reaction. The N factor is its valency, number of electrons lost or gained. And here also, in a salt type, here also you will know that equivalent mass is equal to the ionic mass by, or the molecular mass, the ionic mass or molecular mass by its valency, right? We will be knowing about that in details later. That's the reason why we also allow such kinds of comparison in simple displacement reactions. Metal compared with metal sulfate or metal carbonate, right? So let us take this example. What we do in this experiment is the masses of the reactant, say barium chloride, we do not know it's a chloride of a metal. I am saying it is barium, but it's a metal. And the product, you are getting a precipitate and you have dried it and taken the mass. So you have taken the dry mass of the reactant, a metallic chloride, and the dry mass of the same metallic sulfate. So find the equivalent mass. So then if the two masses are known, we can compare the two masses with their equivalent masses. And while equivalent masses of compounds, we split them into the sum of the equivalent masses of the cation and anion. So for example, 0.925 gram of anhydrous barium chloride, barium chloride dissolved in water and treated with excess of sulfuric acid, right? The weight, that should be mass. I dislike to use the term weight. The mass of the dry barium sulfate which was obtained after the reaction was 1.036 gram. Find the equivalent mass of barium. I should have said metal. Anhydrous metallic chloride, I should have written metallic chloride and find here metal. Also find the percentage of error with respect to the theoretical value. That's why I have mentioned it is barium, right? So barium chloride, as if we do not know the formula. We are not interested to know the formula. We are going to find its equivalent mass. So barium chloride plus sulfuric acid gives you barium sulfate plus HCl. We have not balanced it, nothing. We don't know the valency of barium. We don't know at all. Even if we do not know the valency, we can find out equivalent mass. Valency is required to find the atomic mass, not the equivalent mass. Equivalent mass is the amount which will be produced or will be combined with the same number of equivalents of the other reactant. Maybe hydrogen 1 gram if it is one equivalent, and if it is oxygen 8 gram, it is chlorine 35.5 grams. So experimentally we are finding out by using the law of equivalence, right? So the mass of barium chloride was 0.925, and ultimately the product barium sulfate, the dry mass, is this much. So mass of barium chloride by mass of barium sulfate. I had written BaCl2, but later on I corrected. Supposing I do not know, I wanted to give you the concept. We are not supposed to know, or it's not needed also. Let's say it is X. So barium, so mass of barium chloride, a mass of barium sulfate or metal sulfate is equal to E, equivalent mass of barium chloride, divided by equivalent mass of barium sulfate. Then we split into equivalent mass of barium ion and chloride ion. So let's say X and 35.5 by 1. And here same X plus 96 by 2. So masses are known experimentally. And these two are known. So X is a common thing. So we get it is 68.12x. So that is the equivalent mass of barium obtained experimentally. And we already know the equivalent, the atomic mass of barium is 137. Barium is yes. If we find atomic mass of barium, this valency is 2. If the valency is 2, we know, then its atomic mass is 136.24. So what is the percentage of error? 36.24 by 137, for example, the exact atomic mass, for example, 137. So the experimental value is 136.24. It's very close. The error is very negligible, very small, not negligible, small. So the percentage of error, I think I have not calculated, is the difference. The difference is how much? 0.76 by 137 is the actual value into 100. So 0.76 by 137 into 100, that is the percentage of error, which is very small. And this is another problem, that is 1.53, same principle, 1.53 gram of a metallic hydroxide, say metal hydroxide. Metal hydroxide. As if I do not know the, why as if I don't know the valency. On heating gives metal oxide plus water. We know this is a metathesis reaction plus water. Now we know the mass of the metal hydroxide, dry mass, and we also know the mass of metal oxide. So mass of metal hydroxide, mass of metal oxide, equivalent mass of metal hydroxide by equivalent mass of metal oxide. So this is split into X, equivalent mass of the metal, plus equivalent mass of hydroxide ion. Since its valency is 1, then its equivalent mass is the ionic mass by 1. That is 17 by 1, 17. Right? And we know the equivalent mass of oxide ion. Oh, I'm sorry. It has been, yes, it should be subscript. So the equivalent mass of oxide ion is 16 by 2. Valence is 2, that is 8. So X plus 17 divided by X plus 8, and the masses of the two compounds are known, and we find out the equivalent mass of the metal is 8.739. We do not know its valency. If we know the valency, then we multiply with that and get the atomic mass. And can you believe this was the definition in olden times, the equivalent mass, when Faraday's laws were not given. The equivalent mass was defined in a very crude way, taking only hydrogen, oxygen and chlorine. Forgetting everything, that oxygen can be peroxide, can be superoxide, everything. So let me read out. In my time, when I was a student of class 11, not at that time class 11, in India it was intermediate science. So when I was a student of intermediate science, we were told by our teachers that the equivalent mass is a number which shows how many parts by mass, means mass, gram, it may be gram, kg, whatever, how many parts by mass of the element can react or displace. 1.008 parts by mass of hydrogen, that is one equivalent of hydrogen, or 8 parts by mass of oxygen, that is also one equivalent of oxygen, or 35.5 parts by mass of chlorine, that is also 1 gram equivalent of chlorine. So masses are directly proportional to equivalent mass. If these are one equivalents of the respective elements, then the other one has to be one equivalent of that element, unknown element. So the equivalent mass be determined. So experimentally, if this much of oxygen is required for this much of metal, so 8 grams will be required for how much of metal. Same thing, we have put it in a very simple law, that is M1 by M2 is equal to E1 by E2, directly proportional. Earlier time we were using unitary method. If this much of oxygen combines with this much of metal, 1 how much, and 8 gram how much. So same thing, M1 by M2 is equal to E1 by E2. And what is gram equivalent mass? The equivalent mass expressed in gram. So this ends our session, equivalent concept, fundamentals, session. But the real charm of equivalent mass will again come when we discuss equivalent mass of different types of compounds, acids, bases, salts, oxidizing agents, reducing agents, disproportionation reaction, so on and so forth. Bye-bye.